people will always take the path of least resistance. If it's a hassle or a pain to do anything, they're not going to do it. It doesn't matter what it is or how much you try to educate them. If they have to jump higher than they can normally jump, you just can't do it. You can't put wings on them and expect them to fly. And that's part of this whole educational movement. We're trying to educate people away from certain kinds of bad habits, I guess. But the best way to do it is
I
just
think
make it easy for them.
the most clear one where the people really can work on it, I think, is meat consumption.
Mm.
That's the
Yeah.
one where it is fair, because it's literally the only reason why it exists is because people want to eat it.
Yeah.
So, and it is like growing meat is again tens of percent of the whole budget. So any decrease, but you don't have to eliminate it 100%, because again, there's always a
Yeah.
budget that you have. But any
Yeah.
percentage you can drop on that is literally like just percentage dropped from the overall impact.
Yeah, well, even with meat, internalizing the cost of meat would be a huge factor. If meat was like 10 times as
Yeah.
expensive as it is, very few people would eat meat. I mean, I only ever eat meat when it's on sale. Really, I'm just going to buy the cheapest stuff. But vegetables, right now, for me to have a vegetarian diet would cost about twice as much, and I have 6 kids to feed. So we've tried it a couple times in the past, but until the prices kind of are real, until they internalize the cost of meat, it just doesn't make sense for a big family to kind of eat vegetables or eat a vegetarian diet.
Yeah,
But
speaking of like what's not right, it's that or speaking of externalities, I guess. How does
yeah,
it make sense that vegetables are more expensive
it
than
doesn't.
meat when
Yeah,
literally in terms of physics you need
yeah,
orders of magnitude less of everything? I think the only
yeah,
crop that's very CO2 intensive of the main ones is rice.
yeah.
So there could be
They're
like also a bit of a choice in like which vegetables are more efficient than others.
right.
But I think like if you want
Yeah,
to like educate people on anything to have directly like what an individual person can do, I think this is
yeah,
the main area, because the other ones were essentially also externalities, like when the industry is externalizing the caring about the issue on the consumers when it was supposed to be expending
yeah.
some money to care about the issue, as opposed to just again moving it away to somebody else to be make it a somebody else's problem.
Exactly. Well, the other aspect I love, have you tried any of the Beyond Meat stuff? The vegetable meat, or what's the other one? Memphis meats, where they have like the lab grown meat.
Yeah. I think
Both
there's even
very
some
interesting
Czech ones.
concepts.
Just can't remember the name right now.
Yes, there's about 20 or 30 companies doing this worldwide. I've been following them fairly regularly, and it's very interesting technology. I've tried the Beyond Beef burgers. A&W has them here. I don't know if do you guys have A&W
Yeah, yeah.
there?
Well, we do have the Beyond Meat. We do have Beyond
Yeah,
Meat burgers. I
yeah,
used to eat them a bunch. It's just the issue with that. I even like how it tastes. The issue
yeah,
with that
yeah.
is specifically Beyond Meat is not the healthiest.
Yes, it's a
Uh,
lot of salt, a lot of salt.
so it's a bit
Yeah,
bit of an issue there. Like I tried, because I tried all
exactly.
kinds of like alternative burgers. I tried like one with
Yeah,
from beans and one with like a big
yeah,
champignon mushroom, like portobello mushroom instead of the meat. I tried
yeah,
what's the I think like maybe like two or three other alternatives. And I
yeah.
have to say, like the Beyond Meat tasted the best of all that I tried,
Yes,
of all of
I agree.
those. But also in
Yep.
terms of like healthiness, it is not the greatest of all the options.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
sort of stopped doing that too much.
Yeah.
But for instance, when I live in Mierovice here, my mom, she's good. She's a good cook, and but usually what she does is like essentially what in Czech Republic, even though like we do have enough money as a family now, we sort
Yeah.
of grew up relatively poor. Like not like poor. Like I want to like say that I like Africa poor. It's of course like a developed country relative poor.
Yeah.
So we do eat a lot of like traditional, not even like Czech traditional, but the region where I'm from is like micro region. It's called is Hana. It's called, and
Hmm.
in Hana, which is a part of Moravia, which is actually very fertile. So there's like a lot of agriculture here, and always was. But people are used to eating sort of like a not necessarily with meat food. Like we do it a lot of like if like there's like an animal product in it, then like more often it would be eggs. So
Hmm.
like today I had what do you call it? Lentil, I think.
Hmm.
Some sort of
Okay.
lentil dish with fried eggs, and that's something that we would consider a full lunch. And I
Hmm.
even learned to quite like this was or like one of the other days we had uh again, in German it's Knoblauch, in Czech it's Květák, what's it? Cauliflower, I think, some maybe.
Okay.
So like a
Yeah.
fried cauliflower, but like again wrapped in like you would wrap a Rizek, like you would wrap a meat if you wrap it into something. So, but
Yeah.
instead you wrap the vegetable. So the wrapping still has egg in it. So again, so you have sort of like this sort of with potatoes or something. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of meals like this, which I like. It's completely fine, like nutritionally. If you at least have eggs in the diet, you're completely fine.
Yeah.
So I'm quite used to eating just that basically, or meals to that effect, and I don't even mind
Yeah.
long term.
There, there's a ton of great options. I mean, and I love the idea of just science kind of churning out more and more options for people, that taste better and are healthier, right? That have the better composition. Some other neat ideas are like seaweed bacon. Bacon kind of made from different kinds of seaweed. And you could grow tons and tons of seaweed in the ocean. Like it would be not a problem at all to do it, if you had your economies of scale in a very, very efficient way, and it would help the fish as well, because a lot of the waste. So if you just take certain huge chunks of the ocean and dedicated it to ocean farming of seaweed, and then converted that seaweed into something that tastes good,
Yeah,
something that was kind of socially acceptable to eat, um, there's some great potential there that I think that we're just
yeah.
barely starting to scratch the surface of.
As long as it's not Soylent Green.
As long as it's not green. Have you tried the Soylent stuff? Have you heard about the
Oh,
Soylent?
I have.
I tried it myself for, I think it was about 3 months. The family kind of drank. We got about a 3 month supply when it first came out. I was excited about it, but it
Yeah,
just didn't sit with us long term.
yeah. I
It
couldn't
wasn't
bring
too great for the
myself to.
bowels.
It looked like just the name. Like I think they're
Yeah.
not as clever branding as they think it is.
Well, it was funny, right? It was supposed to just be funny because we all knew what it
Yeah.
was, and it was just a funny concept that it was
Uh,
like a techie thing.
though I have recently another news that I've seen is for actually a lot of meat consumption is in the especially in the developing world or developed world also it's for pets.
Hmm.
And so they started some companies started making essentially insect based so it's like it has the same like to the pets, like if pets seem to like it.
Yeah,
It's like it has all the nutritional stuff that it needs to have, but of course insects can be grown much more
much
economically
more
than
cheaper. Yeah, it's a
real meat.
crickets mostly, I think, is the biggest one. Crickets and maybe even roaches to some extent can be churned in and turned into
I
to
think
meat. Yeah,
I have eaten the like honey with ants in it.
ants too, eh? Okay, and then the mealworms too. Actually, I've tried mealworms before. They're not too bad with the right kind of spice on it. They're not bad. They're
I've
crunchy. You
heard, but
barbecue them.
psychologically I
And
can't bring myself to
it's
eat
tricky.
mealworms.
It's tricky. They have this Science North place about 3 hours away from us that has a whole ton of sciencey type things for kids and stuff. And mealworms is something you could try there. Like you could just eat the fried barbecued mealworms, and they were bad. It's just something. You're right. Psychologically, we have to kind of engineer ourselves to be ready for these options at least, right?
Yeah, like
As it
for
become
me,
necessary.
like just please grind it. Just grind it
Yes,
into
grind
this
it
like
first. You don't have
powder
to see
and
it.
then create something in a different shape.
Yeah. Just
That
cook with
powder.
it. Yeah. As long as you cook something else. And I think probably the biggest potential that I've seen in all my studies is probably the lab grown stuff if they can get the cost down. Because they're basically engineering the meat, growing it exactly the same way the meat is, but they're having the exact amount of fat that they want, the exact amount of nutrition that they want, and there's none of the toxicity of the environment going into it. It's 100%
Not to
pure meat, I
mention
guess you could
no
say.
torturing of animals.
No torturing of animals, exactly. So there's really no argument against doing that if they can do it, efficiently and
Yeah,
and
like
cheaply, inexpensively.
so far any resistance would just be well, it doesn't taste the same. But if you can make it to
Sure.
taste the
You can,
same, even if it's more expensive, then
yeah.
like for a vast majority of people that will be completely acceptable.
I think the vast majority that have tried it have said it tastes the same, if not better, than actual meat. And they're using 3D printing technologies to make even thicker things like steak.
Well, those
Um,
are like the closest we can get to Star Trek replicators.
It absolutely is. That's where I'm leading, and that's where I think everything's going to go eventually. I don't know whether it's 10 or 15 or 50 years out before we get all our food kind of that way, but I think eventually that's the direction. And we can grow it underground if we have to. We could grow food for 1 trillion people if we have to. There's no limit to how much food we can make as long as we make sure that we internalize the environmental costs of it, and that would fix the problem again.